Yeah.
Welcome to episode 165, the first podcast of the year for the Brewgooders, the Beer and Comics podcast. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year, guys.
Yep, we're all fresh. That's the one, yeah. We're all, was it fresh and bushy-eyed, and we're like completely like, New Year, new us, and stop crying, Andrew.
Like, Bushy's right, because look at the three of us.
Yeah.
And I'm going
podcast.
to have to get the Just for Men back out for the beer.
This is like a Pokemon evolution. If you go from the left to the right.
That's right. Fresh-faced, young, and then like beard's getting a bit out of control, and then it's like third point, full-on Wookiee.
Bloodshot eyes and that. Yeah, so my name's Jeff. I'm a comic writer, kind of. In the middle is Mr. Lagerlogs himself, Stu, and on the right, but not a member of the far right. Well, I've started rubbing my eyes and I can't stop. Right, on the right, but not a member of the far right, is Mr. Kingdom Comics, Andrew McGee.
Would you like me to pass you through some eye drops, mate?
Hold on. Give me a second. Right, hold on. Sorry for everyone that's listened to the new and reinstated audio. Hold on. Where is it?
Oh no,
right.
For audio listeners.
Okay, hold on.
Visual gags already.
Right, go. Okay, let's pass it through. Thank you.
There we go.
Oh my god, it's horrible.
It's strange that I could hear better now.
Do you ever put eye drops in and you can like taste the eye drops? I don't know if it does goes behind your eye and I don't know.
Yeah, if you accidentally get it into like the nasal passage down the thing, then you can taste it. So that can be fun.
Well, that was
your eustachian, because your eustachian tubes are in there and it's all mixed up. That's how you know if you come off a plane and you hold your nose and blow, you can pop your ears and pop your eyes and things like that. It's all connected.
Nice. There we go. So, believe it or not, we are a podcast where for anyone that's like, oh, I want to try out some new podcasts this year, we've somehow not managed to improve our flow in 165 episodes and just kind of stumble through introductions and then we go from there. So, we're going to share a couple of beers, we're going to share a couple of comics. We've got a couple of videos because Stu and one of our long-term listeners, Neil, did some really cool stuff over New Year's and Christmas and made videos about it, so I stole them so that we had content. I think we crack open our beers and chat about what we're drinking. So if you've got a beer, if you're listening at home, get your beer open and look at a can and shit.
Well, I'm drinking Two Tribes Campfire Hazy Pale Ale.
Oh, nice.
And it lives up to its name. It is indeed very, very hazy. Looks like, that first piss after you've had 10 pints.
I am going to be having a salt and lime lager. Look how funky that can is.
Oh, nice.
It's a nice can.
Andy in the comments saying Happy New Year. Happy New Year, pal. Happy New Year. Good one.
Happy New Year to the cat dad.
I got a friend, a very good friend, bought me a Flavorly box for my Christmas.
Ooh.
And I got that as one of them, an Arcade Beer Works number 6 New England IPA, New English IPA, sorry. So
it's just an IPA. It's not flavoured with grapefruit or lime or anything like that.
Nah, it's
fudge.
I've changed, man.
That's a shame.
That's not. No, just I had a story and I don't know what it is. Yeah, I just got this box. I've been working my way through it. I think Flavorly is kind of underrated. I know we talk about Beer 52s quite a lot, but
nice.
It's good. Some really good stuff from what's that brewery called? I'll find out. Loads of Brewgooder, which is what I was thinking of. Obviously, I forget about Magic Rock was the other one. So Brewgooder, Rock, and Arcade Beer stuff, which is nice. Yeah, I quite like New England IPAs, but normally I'm used to them being about 5 or 6%, whereas this is a 4.5, so it's like a sessional New England IPA. It's really good.
4.5. That's, I think I picked up a beer earlier on there. I was going to drink it, but it was over 5%. And as I always say, I like over 5%. It's not a Thursday night beer for me. It's a weekend. I love the phrase sessional. It's a sessional beer. Yeah. I regard that as like a beer I would drink on a session. And yeah, Thursday's not a session. It's for me, it's just a couple of quiet.
Was it us that were talking about that over Christmas? Like, how do you define a sessional IPA, or how do you define a sessional beer? And we were just kind of saying anything below 5. I don't know if that's I don't know if that's actually accurate or not. But.
I have no idea, but yeah, like saying
I'm sure it's 100% just a marketing term. It's just encouraging. Like, you could drink 6 of these on a night out.
You drink a 6. You can drink 6 of any beer, and you'd be feeling it by like.
Well, you say that, but there has been a couple of beers that I wouldn't have 6 pints of. I went up to Inverness, and on your recommendation, I went to the Black Isle Brewing.
Oh yeah.
Pub, and they've got their board, and the stronger the beer gets, the smaller the glass size is. They'll only sell you.
Yes, I've noticed
quarter pints and things like this. And there's one of them's 12%. I certainly wouldn't drink 6 pints of a 12% beer.
No, totally.
They only sell that in like 33 cents a litre.
Yeah, like the wee samplers. Yeah.
I think that's what that is. That's that's less than 330. That's the half pint one. But yeah, sometimes it's the same in Brewdogs as well. There's some of their higher ABV beers. They won't sell it to you in a pint. You have to buy it in half.
Only sell you a half pint of it, and then they should only sell you like 4. Something like that.
But you also notice, like, obviously it'll be a minimum pricing thing as well, but they sometimes jack the prices up of those beers as well. So you'll have less beer, but a more expensive overall price. It's quite annoying.
Yeah, but for strength wise, 3 pints of that is going to absolutely murder you.
Yeah, no, I think so. Yeah. This is really good. I'm totally enjoying it. It's almost like, I opened that 7 minutes ago, and I'm like halfway through it. It's good. How's everyone's beers? What was your beer?
Mine was a Two Tribes Campfire hazy pale ale. I like the look of the can. As always, it came from a Beer 52 box, which will only be the last box that I get. I've got a full box sitting down beside me, and I've just had the email telling me I've got another box coming, and I keep on forgetting to phone them to cancel it. Just for a few months, I've got probably 200 cans of beer sitting in the house here.
Wow!
If you need any help,
I may well I'll get you round. Gina's going away in a couple of weeks. I'll get you round on a Saturday, and we'll get a pizza, and you can help me drink some of this beer. Stuart, always welcome as well.
Thank you.
Jim Russell. I know a Jim Russell. I'm wondering if it's the same Jim Russell. I think
it's from Rosyth, which is where you live.
No, this Jim Russell's from this guy used to work in the golf.
He's in Paris.
It's a different, I can confirm it's a different Jim Russell.
I was going to shout out to that Jim Russell that is saying party. I tried to steal one of his songs this week. So Jim's in a band called the Bucky Bombs, who are how were they described? I read one of the reviews today, but melodic Nedcore punk, and that they sing 3-chord punk songs about villages in Fife while drinking Buckfast. So there we go. Melodic Nedcore. They have a song called Garden City, which is obviously about your hometown, Andrew.
Yeah.
And they have a song. I'm trying to remember where you stay, Stu. I think it's just near where you stay. But they have a song called Crystal Meth Hill.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I'm going to have to look at them. I'm partial to a bit of Nedcore punk. My favourite band, I would probably call that, is a band called the Rubber Bandits. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
I've not, but I'm annoyed I haven't. But
they've got such classics as I Have a Horse Outside, and one of their songs is called Your Dad's Best Pal. Their absolute best one, get on YouTube. Their absolute best one is called Spastic Hawk. And it's just absolutely hilarious. Rubber Bandits. Yeah, Jim's saying he loves them as well.
He loves them, aye. So they've got a song called "I Want to Fight Your Father."
I want to fight your father. Yeah.
So, Jim. The Bucky Bombs have got a new album, came out on Tuesday, and it's really, really good. As I say, I was trying to steal. They've got a song called Kelty Beach, and I was trying to steal the intro of it for this podcast, but I did so without permission and got in trouble.
Okay. I'll if they've got a YouTube channel or whatever like that, I'll definitely have a look at them.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
We can throw you some shade, Jim. We'll put if you've got any social media, we'll throw it up here in the comments.
Yeah.
And try and see if we can get you some views.
No, they're good, and it got gigs coming up as well. So I think Dundee, Glasgow, and Edinburgh in the next month. So I said I got in trouble. I generally got in trouble off of Jim's like as like a childhood friend, and I was like, I showed him this video that I made of and a new intro to the Rugaders, and he was like, no. It's like, no worries. How did you guys get much drinking done over the holidays?
Yes, I mean it was New Year in Scotland. I think there's a great tradition. Like for any, some of the guys who watch us are from south of the border and even further afield. But yeah, we take drinking pretty seriously. So I was pretty drunk at New Year. I was at a New Year's party at the Bay. The Petty Kirin.
Yeah.
The star of the Life on the Bay TV show. Actually, my brother-in-law is one of the guys on that TV show, so I was there for New Year for the New Year party, and it was awesome, and it was a great night. It was had by all day. It was so busy. Like the queue at the bar was so long, I thought the Queen had died again. So it was just absolutely mobbed.
I like it there.
Holly cut in front of you.
Pool in there.
So they've got a nice wee pool for when your kids were younger. Probably you would have appreciated it more. But I used to take the boys there.
Roasting.
So I was there. I was out with a couple of good mates between Christmas and New Year. We met up in Dunfermline, had a few beers. We were supposed to do the same again this weekend, but unfortunately, somebody ruined it.
Sorry. COVID hit my house again, so we were all under trying to be isolated. This shit. I went
to see my father-in-law and took my son through to see my father-in-law, and we went along to the Preston Pans British Legion, which was a bit of a culture shock to my son, I must admit. Like, he's never been in a British Legion before. Wasn't his type of thing at all, but that was great.
Anyone ever gone to a British Legion who hasn't served and been like,
it's just a working man's club, but kids these days who didn't grow up drinking in miners' welfare clubs and working men's clubs and labour clubs and legions and things like this. The extent that Josh is going out is nightclubs and pubs in Glasgow, stupid places. So, yeah, a British Legion was
it's just a stupid place. Oh,
not happening.
Back in time.
Is that not a burn? It's a burn sketch, eh? Oh, hold on. Is this a bucking studenty place?
It's a student pub. Right, up the road.
Is this a studenty place? Good. The commercial was good. Some really good guest ales on tap of the commercial. That so we had me and Colin had a couple of drinks in the commercial. I actually went home and said to Claire, I was like, I need to stop telling you I'm only going to be a couple of hours, because I think I arrived at 2. Was it 2-ish? And I didn't get along the road till about 7. By the time we'd all wandered our way. Also, as we were leaving, Grum, who is a long time listener of the podcast, entered the pub as we left, and we're like, "Oh, wish you knew you were coming. We would have worked something out." So shout out to Grum, our tag.
I'm happy next time we meet to meet a wee bit later and stay out through the evening, even if we have something to eat while we're out, rather than just doing an afternoon sort of session.
Cool.
Afternoon sessions are funny. I like them, but I'm available for afternoon drinking this weekend if you fancy it.
They burst your evening though. Like I do love them, but like I think we started doing the afternoon sessions about this time last year in the commercial, and there was a wee while there we were going every week, and they are amazing. But by the time you get home at like 6, half 6.
Yeah.
Like I was often going out for a couple of pints with you and Colin and Tom and that, and then getting home and being like, right, I need to do some work and just not getting any work done.
No, I didn't get it. I go home, I eat something, I walk the dog, and it's 7:30, and then I sit on the sofa and promptly fall asleep. Because unless I keep drinking, if you keep drinking, you're okay, but then you'll regret that on a Monday. But if I stop drinking, then yeah, I'll be asleep. I'll be dozing by 8:15 probably.
How was your drinking over the Christmas holidays, Stu?
I was all right. It was a very busy family one. So, like, the first week being Christmas, you're seeing a lot of your family. So it's always like a lot of driving. So at the end of it, I'll have 1 or 2 at the end of the night, and then the same with New Year's. But so I kind of saved it all up for this weekend. Where we just went to Edinburgh and had a few too many. So I've not really made a big dent in the fridge when it comes to drinking beers, but no, I've definitely tried a few this week.
Well, we have a little look at your. I love this. I saw this. I saw this video. I was just like, I would like to put this on the podcast, please. We need to do videos like this more often. I was like, I wish. Why didn't I think of this? So yeah, Stu went to Edinburgh last weekend and tried to do a pub crawl up the Rose Street.
Mm-hmm.
Rose Street, yeah. Which side did you start in? East or west?
We started kind of in the middle.
Sorry.
Uh-oh.
That's it. I'm just keep talking.
We started more or less at the Boozy Cow, which isn't on Rose Street technically. It's bang in the middle around the corner. Mm-hmm. So we went up, took a suggestion to go to the Black Cat, but that was mobbed. So we just made our way to Fierce Beer, then worked our way back to the hotel.
Oh, cool.
So
let's have a look.
Let's have a look at it, yeah.
I like the music. Here we go.
This is to use
it. We'll soon find out.
Beer, beer, beer. I'm gonna drink some beer. I like drinking beer. Lovely, lovely beer. Beer, beer, beer. I'm going for a beer. Beer, beer, beer. I'm gonna drink some beer. I like drinking beer. Lovely, lovely beer. Beer, beer, beer. I'm going for a beer. Beer, beer, beer. I'm gonna drink some beer. I like drinking beer. Lovely, lovely beer. Beer, beer, beer. I'm going for a beer. Beer, beer, beer. I'm gonna drink some beer. I like drinking beer.
I just love you like progressively getting more hammered as that video. It's like
either like the camera work, because I was filming outside the pubs, so that gets a bit shaky. But even me holding that at the end, about the drink, and yeah, there was maybe 3 beers missing from that video, but there's only so much you could kind of drop into it. They weren't really exciting. It was like things like Heineken, so it wasn't really worth showing off.
I think I've done the Rose Street a few times. I think Abbotsford's a good starting place. That's just as you go onto it and then see how far along you can get. And if you can make Charlotte Square from there, you're doing pretty well.
So yes, a lot of light beers and half pints as well, because I had to try everything but not get too full.
You saw when you're in Fierce, you did the flight and stuff like that as well, eh? So you're getting like, I don't know, was that 2 pints worth, but over?
I think it was like the 1/3, like the bucklers. So yeah, and this was all with me and my wife. So 2 of them were what she was drinking, 2 of them was what I was drinking, but we all tried them. So, and that has probably been my favorite. There was a honey stout that they had called a Hokey Pokey. And that was a fierce collaboration with some sort of New Zealand brewery. And yeah, 7.4%, like kind of really rich taste, no alcohol burn, very easy to to get drunk off of. So next time I'm there, I'm hoping to pick up a few tins of that.
I was just going to say there, like pub crawls are quite funny. Like you're saying there, you're doing like you go in expecting there to be like a decent option in every pub, and sometimes you do like you're like as part of the crawl. I found that when me and Andrew and Tom tried to do we attempted the circle, the 5 circle, and we went to Inverkeithing. It was just tenants, wasn't it? It was like a tenants bar, like both places we went to, and then when we went to when we were in Dalgety Bay, because the Hell End Tavern wasn't open yet, we went into the Compass, and the closest crafty beer they had there was like, I don't know, whatever it's called, the Icebreaker Pale Ale or that's like a Green King.
Yeah,
special.
like
so you're like, and then we went to the one in Aberdour, which is supposed to have like it's got Cask Ale bar written on the side of the building, and you go in and it's like, our Cask Ale's not on today, it's just tenants. So
yeah, it was I can't abide tenants lager. And I think it was I couldn't even get a Guinness there. I think.
Yeah,
it was proper.
It's a bit rough. No, that sounds good, man. I love those pub crawls. That's Jim saying that Davey. So Jim's got as well as being like an amazing like frontman for like for a melodic Nedcore punk band. He's also a podcast that I think everyone should read it. He's a contributor to a podcast called The Football Beer. He'll correct me if I'm in the wrong order because I've not got it to hand, and I'll get like punched in the puss for this because actually they did sponsor Jeffy the Juniors. But it's, there's the Football Beer and Punk Rock podcast, which is exactly what it sounds like. You know, it's some drunk Dundonians drinking beer, talking about football, and talking and listening to punk music, and it's a really, really good podcast. I got it correct. It's good.
Took a lot of boxes for me, so I should have a look at that.
Yeah, they're just really, really funny guys. I like Jim. Jim does he does like countdown features, you know, like top 10 features and stuff like that, and list features and stuff, which I really like as well because I watch a lot of stuff on YouTube that are just 10 fucking nonsense things that you don't really you shouldn't be listing, but it's good fun
to distract you from the world.
We could borrow that definitely. We could do something like that. 10 things.
Yeah, I love listing stuff. I would love to do, you know, I'd love to do lists like videos for YouTube, but it would be a ball ache to edit it. But so he was saying that Davey of that podcast is very excited about Discovery Beers opening in Dundee. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, because Dundee is probably a place that we need to visit a wee bit more actually for beer because it's 71. I've got a place. 71 Brewing. I've got a place up there as well.
Yeah, Holy Goats.
Yeah.
Just outside the comfortably going for one day is the thing. But that would obviously mean that we'd have to do an overnight.
Yeah, we'd have to get the travel lodge up there booked or something, eh? Yeah.
Well, I think for where I am, it's like half an hour on the train. So
it's too far. You have to spend the night.
Yeah, no, we're spending the night, Stu. It's all arranged now. We can't go back now. We've come too far.
So Jim's saying it's a
already paid the deposit
shop that you can sit in. So it's a bit like Caledonian Craft Beer Merchant. Like, pretty cool. Those places are amazing. So really, I like sitting in the Caledonian Craft Beer Merchant with folk. We used to do it quite a lot before lockdown, where you would go in and everybody would just like, we did it twice where me and Colin kind of had started a pub crawl there, and because you can only get like comfortably six folk in that space, but everybody bought a bottle and we all got a glass, and you would like, but you would it was a really cool way of trying out like 12 beers without only paying for like 2, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So so those places are really exciting. It's cool that and they're jumping up all over the place as well. Like, so it's cool that Dundee's getting one. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Beer wise, what I did over the holidays. Obviously, I had a really nice time in Commercial. I spent an evening in Glasgow last week and sort of did a crawl I did end up in a place called the Waterloo, which was exactly what you imagined it would be. It was like the first pub I went to, and was just a tenants bar, but it was actually a good banner, nice vibe to the place.
I think I know that one. Is it off Sauchiehall Street?
No, it's down by just off Central Station, like across the road from the Arches and a wee bit further along.
Okay.
Nice. No, it was a nice enough place. Like just first pub I got to once I parked my car. And then I spent the rest of the day on the sort of day on Sauchiehall Street, and ended up and went to Walkabout, which is like the Australian themed.
It's an Australian sports bar.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Watched the Liverpool Brentford game, which was good.
It absolutely wasn't.
I'll tell you why it was good for me, right? It's because I took Darwin off my fantasy football team because he's shit and replaced him with Kane. And Darwin got a goal disallowed, which I was like, he scored, and I was like, oh, I've just taken him off my fantasy team, and then it got disallowed, so I was quite happy with it. And then Kane's had 2 blinders back to back, so it's fine. But yeah, in there was really good because they had Tiny Rebel and Can in there, which was really smart. And then I ended up in another place, which name escapes me, on Sauchiehall Street, where I had a Brugger Pale Ale, this stuff here, the hazy Pale Ale for like on tap, which was good. Mm-hmm. So I was quite happy with that. So
you had a nice time in Glasgow.
I did. It was good. Cool. Good beer.
I'm going to Glasgow next Saturday to meet up with Tom. I'm going a little pub crawl, so you can expect another little wanky video montage when we go into pubs.
Nice. We expect one every time.
Shaky camera goes in that, man.
Exactly.
Okay. Any other beer related business? Yeah, I had a wee look online to get like beer news about like breweries and stuff, but it's just really depressing. So
shutting down.
Yeah,
there's never really good news when it comes up. Or I mean, talk about BrewDog. There was a few days ago, wasn't it? Confirmation that it was an interview with that
or something like that for the
was it like $500,000 for the golden can thing? It cost James Watt. That's his name, isn't it? James Watt.
Yeah.
Aye. So for just ballsing up like a competition, cost them.
Yeah, they said they were going to give away a solid gold can, but they gave away a gold coloured can.
Yeah.
And it was going to be worth like $5,000 or something like that. And people pointed out that a solid gold can would be worth considerably more than $5,000 or whatever they were trying to give away. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what was it? There was 50 made, and he's managed to get 40 of them back.
Yeah.
What a scumbag, eh? It's no wonder we were boycotting.
That's a bastard.
It's like I say that when I was in when we were in Harrogate and I was drinking BrewDog in fucking Wetherspoons. I felt like the worst arsehole I've ever.
Drinking a BrewDog in a Wetherspoons. It's just about as low as it goes, I think.
Yeah, it's so horrible.
I think I was drinking Doombar.
So for us, that's as good as you can get. I've just googled whether there was anything.
What could be worse? Drinking a punk in a BrewDog in a Wetherspoons before going to a comics event at a geek retreat. That would be the ultimate, just shite day.
Yeah. To buy Marvel comics, I don't know.
to buy bad news, bad idea comics. Have you heard the bad idea comics?
No.
Oh, that's another a comedy of errors going on in the comic industry at the moment. This bad idea with a publisher that came out with just bad ideas for comics. Like one was an invisible comic, so it came in a bag, but there was no comic there, and it was touted as the invisible comic. And they got some CGC, so it was fundamentally just like an empty CGC. And they were like, "Hey, bad idea." They're like the edgy bad boys of comics. They only put out we're only going to put out 2,000 copies of this, and we're only going to put it to 14 different shops worldwide. Hey, it's a bad idea. And it's like, they're basically going into liquidation because there's so many bad ideas.
Because they're shit.
Check them out.
Aye, so that was I think that Brewdog can thing was probably as close to any sort of noteworthy thing that happened this weekend. That's quite funny because it's funny to laugh at Brewdog. Loads of breweries shutting again. I think an article I read over the Christmas period suggested it's like 3 or 4 a day of these sort of microbreweries are just like.
It's about the thing is that they're supplying pubs, and pubs are closing. Like pubs are closing 3 or 4 days a week at the moment. My shop's closed now 4 days a week for January and February because it's just so bad at the moment on the high street. You know, if it's bad for me, it's bad for restaurants, it's bad for cafes, it's bad for pubs. And if pubs aren't open, breweries aren't going to be able to sell their beer.
Well, that's it. Yeah. You see that every obviously. I don't know if you guys are the same. But obviously, just due to the podcast, I follow loads of pubs, and that's what it's like. You just notice like even the commercial, which I think is open all the time. The two pubs in Dunfermline I follow are the Commercial and the Monarch.
Yeah.
And Monty's. Sorry, I follow Monty's as well. So Monty's is now shut till Thursday every week. You know. I
was in the Commercial there on Sunday, and apart from me and Gina, there was like 4 other tables and people at them. And you know, it's like, you know, the last time you were in,
you can't move sometimes.
You're lucky to get a table.
I remember last January, and it's like you say, it's just what happens. Last January, I remember going. There was a night. It was the day that I went, and you and Colin couldn't make it, and it was probably we'd maybe done about 3 or 4 Sundays in a row, and then you, Colin, and Tom couldn't make it to the Commercial that night. That day, I went up on my own to finish writing something, and I met a friend from my work, and me and her sat there. It was me and her and a guy who was he was the barman. So there would be more folk during the day when we were there, but by the time it was about 4 or 5, the bar shift had changed over. The barman that was behind the bar, Jamie, came and sat with me and my pal Mary, and we were the only 3 in the pub, and it was like, and then but the next week it was I think it was maybe like the 22nd of January or something. So the next week was the pay week, and it was heating again. Yeah. But that it must just be that like sort of mid to mid late January must be like the fucking worst time to own a bar, I think.
Yeah, January and February will be the same as well. You get a wee bounce at payday, but then people's credit card bills come in January for Christmas. So February's generally pretty bad as well. Like I say, I know in the shop I'm not closed in the shop, but I'm almost closed, if you know what I mean. I'm open Saturday, Sunday, and a Wednesday, just for these couple of months, just to try and save a wee bit of money. Saving wages, saving heating. You know, I know I don't get taking the money. So yeah, it's a bad time for businesses. So get out and support your local businesses. If you've got a local pub and it's open, go and see them.
Aye.
If you've not come to the Commercial and meet us.
Most Sundays, let us know you're coming. We'll come in. As I say, I was kind of gutted when we bumped into Grum. As we were leaving, he was in, and I was like, "Oh, I wish I'd known that we would have."
I could have held back, you know.
I could have. I was struggling. I was pretty drunk that day, I think. Aye. So yeah, I think that's all our beery stuff. We have sort of podcast beer stuff, and you've got some. We've hopefully got some decent adventures planned this year. So as soon as we get them, like actually,
we're going to Glasgow. We're going to Dundee for a day. We're going to Livingston. I've just heard to go to a convention.
I might try and get a hold of Alchemy that day. What's that?
Whereabout is it going to be?
We'll wait till next week. Because our guest next week will be able to tell us all about it, and I'll be able to. But yeah, there's an event in Livingston in March that we're all really looking forward to. I'm trying to share a picture. Hold on. I'm holding the share screen. Right.
What else exciting? Apart from beer, what else have we been doing then? Obviously, it's been Christmas, it's been New Year. I'm assuming
this is all I spent the last minute trying to get up.
What we're going to show here?
This is the beer. Jim Russell has just sent me a message saying this is what I'm drinking. So,
Buckfast.
Yeah, it's the only time Buckfast will ever appear on this podcast. Okay.
There's a special place in hell for people who drink Buckfast in the street and then just smash their bottles. And then, like, if you're walking your dog the following day and you're having to walk around the Buckfast bottles on the path in the park and stuff like that.
You and Jamie live in the same place, so it's probably him.
Yeah. Kevin has Buckfast bottles that happens. Moving around, so I'm saying, state that.
That and wee puddles of purple vomit.
Exactly.
I should have tried Buckfast. I've never tried Buckfast.
Yeah, I have, and once. That's Jonathan saying, hey man.
Hi, John.
Hope you're having hope to see you at some cons this year, Jonathan. Hope you're having a good night.
No doubt.
We've got loads of exciting beer things. We've in touch with a couple of breweries, so hopefully these videos that Stu has made will hopefully get more. So yeah, that's cool. Comic, what? I'm trying to think anything else before we move on to comics. No. Go to the commercial on Sunday, and I'm very much looking forward to it. Hopefully go to the commercial on Sunday. I'm very much looking forward to that fact. And that's John saying he'll see us at events. So we'll tell you. I'm hoping to. I've sent emails and feelers out, so hopefully we'll be able to tell you what events you'll be able to catch us at this year. I know I've got 3 lined up from Brewgooders / us, and that's not including like Acme and Thought Bubble that we'll presumably be at as well. And I know Colin's going to be at Lawless again this year. That was did I tell you my story? I think I told you and Colin it in the pub. I'm going into a music festival in May, and it happens to be the same weekend as Lawless. And I found out that one of the closest towns is Grantham, so I messaged Ben at the 77 because I know that's where he lives. It was like, have you got a spare room? And he was like, yeah, man, that sounds great. He was like, when is it? I gave him the weekend. He was like, yeah, that's Lawless. And so the 77 sponsor Lawless. So he's like, yeah, man, I won't be. It's like the only weekend it's the only weekend off the top of my head where I won't be.
Because that's ideal because he's such a great guy that he said, I'll not be there so you can use my house.
Yeah, I'll leave it to the man.
That deserves a wee round of applause for Ben.
Yeah, thanks for that, Ben. He also said that I think this is a Grantham phrase. Like, so obviously, you know, Grantham famous for its residents, such as the guy that discovered that. What's his name? Galileo? No, it's not Galileo. The guy that worked out that no, he's not from Grantham. There's some. It might be Newton. I think Newton might be from Grantham. And
possibly.
Because it's really important. Is Sir Isaac? No, it's about an hour. It's south of York. It's sort of it's near London.
I'm thinking of somewhere else.
Sort of London. It's like between London and Nottingham. Is Sir Isaac Newton from Grantham? I think he is. I'll just double check. He was born in Woolsthorpe by Colsterworth, which is a hamlet near Grantham. So he's from there. Obviously, Galileo. Sorry. Just because I was thinking, like, if you walk through Grantham town centre, there's like statues of like the solar system. Okay. So and there's a whole thing about Newton from there, and also as well as him, there's it's also in Jim Russell's in tears at this. It's also where Margaret Thatcher's from. And, last time I was in Grantham, I stayed in a hotel that was right next door to a plaque that was her birthplace. So it's like, oh, you guys are proud of that. So with that in mind, I believe that Grantham, obviously, Ben has told us that we can all go down there the weekend that he's not there, and I believe this is a Grantham phrase for an empty. So.
Excellent. It's the same as the Glaswegian. Glaswegians call that the same thing. Thanks, Ben.
For an empty. So Galileo's not from Grantham. Sir Isaac Newton is, and so is Margaret Thatcher.
And he's having an empty.
Yeah, he's having an empty. In other news, okay. Well, this is I'm
okay. So we've done beer, we've done history.
Now what? The podcast you come to for professionalism after 170 odd things. We've absolutely got it nailed down. Yeah, and today it's like we've never been away. We've just stumbled back in and was like, "Are we doing this again?"
Oh, the camera's on. Okay.
I did that on purpose to put you off. Sorry. What about comics? What did anyone get some comics read, bought, discovered over this Christmas holidays?
I'll be honest. I didn't. I've read a few novels. I've been catching up a lot since I had some time off, but no, I've not been in the shop at all, so I've not picked up any new comics, which is a bit embarrassing since
you run a
comic podcast and own a comic shop, so I really should. There's no excuse for me not to have any new comics. But yeah, I'll try and make sure that's remedied for the next time I'm here.
I'm not gonna lie, I read a few things. I tell you what, I read a book, and I'm not going to say what it was because I read a really interesting article from our friend Grant, who runs the Greg, who runs the SMP Sierra Nova podcast in the USA, about whether you should. Like, it was quite an interesting thing. So he'd obviously read a comic. I think what had happened, and Greg can correct me if I'm wrong, but he read a comic that he didn't enjoy, but he'd been asked to review by the creator, and he didn't review it, and the creator got annoyed, and he was like, "But I didn't enjoy your comic.
I'd give you a bad review." Yeah.
Yeah, I would have given you a bad review. And he's like, "I'd rather." And in fairness, so we had a conversation on like a comic themed comic themed Facebook page. I think it was like Comic Fans Unite or something, and he'd asked the question: as a podcaster, do you think I should be reviewing stuff if I don't enjoy it? Because obviously, particularly if it's independent, obviously, like if we were sitting in our wee fucking Scottish-based podcast, if we read like a Marvel comic that we didn't enjoy, it's not going to make a massive dent in Marvel.
I think it's okay to slam a Marvel or DC comic or an Image comic if you think this isn't up to the standard. But I'm with the podcaster there. I think it's hard enough to make it that if it's not your cup of tea, I would just rather not speak about it. Because bad word of mouth. If we say something, we've not got a massive reach, but if we say something and he doesn't sell 5 copies of it, that can be a big difference in an independent comic and stuff like this. So, no. If I didn't like a comic, I would just not say something about it, rather than.
Well, as I say, I wouldn't say we were massively influential, but we do have creators that have got in touch with us to say like, you've upsold my comic. Like I sold. We've been at conventions where creators have said, I sold copies because you sent them over.
Yeah.
I sold copies of my comic this weekend based on a Brewgooder recommendation. So I'm not saying we've got a massive reach, but like you say, like as an independent comic creator, if 3 folk buy my book on somebody's recommendation, that's a huge chunk of my weekend takings at a convention, I read.
We're no massively influential. Like our say-so is never going to buy anybody a house, for instance. But I mean, we've been massively supporting of John Lee's, and so I'm sure he's made sales, and I'm fairly sure we'd maybe have bought a couple of throw cushions for his caravan, something like that.
And I mean, there's been a lot of times where you've had guests coming on to promote Kickstarters. So I imagine with their being sincere and you talking and showing their work, that's led them to get a few more backers.
That's the ultimate goal. Is if we can support somebody to get a few more back. So in response to that, like we get comics sent to us quite a lot, and I put them up on the Brewgood, our group chat sometimes, like, oh, I've been sent this, here's a link to that. I have read stuff and I've been like, oh, I don't enjoy this, so I just don't talk about it. And that happened a few times over Christmas. I read stuff that folk had sent to me, and so I actually read this has never happened on the podcast before, but I did read about 2 or 3 comics where I didn't enjoy them. So I've chosen not to review them. And actually, one of them's a former guest, but no one will ever know that. I'll take that to my grave. I did read this though, and I really, really did enjoy this. I've got a subscription to Comic House, which is like it's the Netflix of indie comics, £3 a month, and admittedly, I've noticed that it's obviously there'll be many reasons for this, but I've noticed like the amount of comics that are getting put up. It used to be like so many comics got uploaded that like you couldn't keep up with it. But like I did notice that, like for example, Krana put one up last year, and it's still in the new comics section. So like because obviously there's so many have to be uploaded before.
Maybe they've kind of tightened their quality control.
I don't know, because they let Jeff the Juniors go in there, so the quality can't be that good.
Marvelous.
It was marvelous. So I did read a comic. Let's see if I can get to the load. Called it's called Submit or Die. Submit or Die Volume 1. It's a newspaper magazine submissions by a guy called Cam Hayden, who over lockdown wrote and drew loads and loads of comics, and then submitted them to any newspaper, magazine, or zine. He basically just wrote comics specifically for, like for the purposes of trying to get it submitted in anthologies and stuff like that.
Nice.
And so this was just like it's basically his there we go. It was basically his
oh Christ
lockdown project, but very sort of like what's the American equivalent of Viz? Is it Mad magazine? Yeah,
Mad,
I think.
Yeah.
A bit like that. So just sort of lots of 3-page stories about sort of like 3-page story. That one was a particular favorite. The Curse of the Purse of the Mummy. And it's basically like a guy who grave robs a mummy's tomb, where he pulls out the mummy's guts to get to a coin purse that, apparently in ancient Egypt they used to hide like the riches in the mummy's body. And so he tears out a pouch of gold, and he gets warned that the curse of this specific mummy is that if he tears out the coin purse, like his guts will get ripped out. But the punchline to the whole story, and everyone should read this because it's really fun. But the punchline to the whole story is that he's talking about this mummy's curse on a date, and so the last panel is this, and he's like, so yeah, this is about the story of and the curse was that basically the curse was that if I stole this purse from the mummy's guts, my guts would be forever leaking. And so he's like, he's like, do you want to go back to mine? And she's like, no, I'm fine. So I was like, oh, that's really rank. But obviously making use of the black and white to just,
and it didn't get picked up by anybody. I'm surprised.
No. Well, I think, as I say, so that comic was he published this to a comic creator. What's pretty cool is each comic. So that appeared in Freaky Magazine, which is a Canadian magazine, so like a Canadian sort of fan magazine. But just I really enjoyed it.
The style, I think Mad's a wee bit more polished than that. Mad's a wee bit more, it's end-ups. I think there used to be one called Fabulous Feet Brothers. Maybe closer to that sort of style in America.
It reminded me of Viz. It reminded me, like, obviously, as what he says in the introduction is that he wrote all these comics and he drew these comics and he submitted them. Some of them got published, some of them didn't, and he's just kind of pulled them all into an anthology. But I think some of it is. He also says some of it has led to work. And my understanding is guys like the Viz do that, where folks submit to the Viz quite a lot, and they might not, like, their stories might not get accepted, or they might say, oh, we want you to redraw this but make this the punchline. We like the idea, but your punchline is not tight enough. Why don't you use this instead? Or we want to use your art style but with a different story. Here's a script, would you draw that? And I think that's kind of what he was going for. So it was just a cool concept for a comic. I was like, just a guy that I know, our own Colin Maxwell, he's got a comic book that in Maximize Shorts, which is just basically all the wee 3 or 4 page submissions he's put together over the years, where he's it's something I've thought about doing as well. I've got lots of wee 2 or 3 page stories that I've written that I'm like, if I drew these, they would make a wee, like, I don't know, almost like a fucking portfolio, but also a comic, So yeah, that's what I read. That was probably my most enjoyable read over the holidays. But I'm a bit like you, Andrew. I spent a lot of the time reading, watching a lot of shit over the holidays, just watching telly. So
yeah,
we'll get to that bit.
A couple of comments there. John Bruce is saying he supported Kickstarters off of the back of this podcast and just got Hordes of Surrey recently, which is a fantastic book, John.
Yeah, issue 3, third and final issue of Hordes of Surrey came out over the holidays. I got my copy as well. I haven't read issue 3 yet. That's going to be probably my big review next week because I've got all 3 of them now, and I'm just going to reread them all as one. I'm looking forward to the trade of that. Actually, that'll be a beautiful book. I'm assuming that's what Dave Wimblett's going to be doing with all 3 issues. And even though I own all three individual trades, I'm going to buy the paperback as well.
Buy the trade as a reading copy. I think that's what I would generally do anyway. So.
It's an amazing story. It's I hope you enjoyed it, John, because it's sold as the Goonies meets the Inbetweeners, and I really, really enjoyed it. So, and I've talked about it quite a lot on the podcast. John also said, I think it's a good point there. John also said that he had been reading Power Rangers Shattered Grid. I've got the Shattered Grid. I read it as it came out. It's a really good story. Shattered Grid's brilliant. It was the 25th anniversary of Power Rangers in comics. It was really, really cool. And I totally recommend it. And I would also, if you've not read it yet, John, I would recommend Beyond the Grid, which was the next story after Shattered Grid, which was pretty cool. Sorry, I've talked quite a lot there, guys. What did you guys read? Stu, what did you read?
Nothing. So there you go. I've given you my time. Take that time and use it well. I've found comics. I cleaned out my bookcase, which I'm staring at, and I found a Godzilla comic. So I was like, I'm going to make the point of actually sitting down and looking through that so I could actually have something to talk about next week.
Cool. We'll do that next week then.
Sorry, and Godzilla.
Christmas time for me is all about TV and movies and things like that. So,
it's a really good. We talked about that. We'll talk about that. There was one Boxing Day in particular was a highlight of my television year. Just the way my evening's viewing was accidentally structured. But we'll come to that. Before we move away from comics, then Neil, who is a long-term. He's a local politician in North East Scotland, also a long-term fan of the podcast, and has had the podcast and Scottish Comic Book Day recognised in Parliament. So he's a good friend. He's also a fan of the podcast. We were chatting ideas and asking about if folk wanted to contribute, and he sent us this video about his love of comics. It's about 10 minutes long. It's really enjoyed, so everyone should crack open a pint or a can of something and enjoy. And then we'll see you in 10 minutes to chat about like telly and geeky
Everything
shit. Everything
cool.
else.
Back soon.
Is that working, or is it just been a bit rubbish?
A bit stuttery.
A bit rubbish.
I'll restart it because it's really good. Sorry.
Uh-oh.
I'm Neil Bailey. I'm a carer. I'm a politician.
I'll reset it all and I'll put it back up. All right, give me a second.
All right.
I'm a politician.
Okay, so we're back.
Give me a minute to get that sorted. I think it's
you should have uploaded it.
Can you guys hear me? It's me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I know when it comes to StreamYard, when you're uploading stuff, you're quite limited. So.
Okay. Third time lucky. We'll try it just now. So we'll load up.
So an avid comic collector, Michelle, I'm a very, very big fan of the Brewgood and Comic Podcast with Jeff, Colin, Andrew and David. I'd like to introduce myself and introduce that I'm going to make some of these little films about some of my comic collection and also why comics is important to us. We'll be taking a look at a variety of our man collection, from action to 2000 AD, from Marvel to DC, from IPC to DC Thompson, from graphic novels to comics old and new, especially, and we'll be highlighting points from a comic perspective, discussing what works and what doesn't along the way. The comics we may have in our collection, or is it one that your mother threw out when you were at school? We'll be making these series of films about comics. In a way, you could actually say that from me and my partner Alistair here, where we make our films here at Man Cave Studios, it's a kind of man cave, fan cave kind of presentation for the Brewgooders Beer and Comic Podcast. We hope you enjoy them. We will present a picture or story from a comic that you may like or hate, but something the Brewgooders can discuss. Does this comic hold happy memories for you, or does it suck and blow? What we'll do, we'll see a book and we'll have a why there's a thoughts identifies with us as the reader, or is it a political aspect of it? Maybe politics. Someone mentioned politics. Well, don't worry, it's not that kind of politics. Don't worry. My kind of politics is, what would the Watchmen be watching if they didn't watch? V for Vendetta. Does he really like fireworks, or does he really think that they might be scary for dogs? Or Judge Dredd, is he really getting soft in his old age? These are the kind of political questions we want to ask on Mancast. Here at Man Cave Studios, we can present what comics we like. But first, sofa, check. Beer fridge, check. Beer in fridge, check. We will also show you what our favourite comics are, as well as what we are reading now and why. Beer snacks, check. One thing that...
Okay, guys. I'm gonna. The stream's not being able to handle it. It's like a. What we'll do is after it. So the idea is that this will be just a feature that Neil's going to do for us. Well, I need to work out why that's not loading properly, because it's I'm using a Stone Age laptop and shit. So it's probably my issue. I will load it up on. I'll load it up afterwards, and I'll blather about it next week. But thank you, Neil. Keep sending shit, and anybody wants to send us stuff, I will work out how to get it on the podcast. I mean, we've run videos before. I've run entire really podcasts. Cool. But it's Neil chatted to me about this and said that he was like, he wants to. I think the idea is like there would be like 10-minute videos of where, and then we would chat about them afterwards. Like he's going to throw round table. I'm always asking for kind of like round table arguments and stuff. And I think we played around with this last year where it was like our round table discussion this week is why is Ezra Miller such a like horrendous wanker?
Like, why is Ezra Miller held the DC expanded universe? Just single-handedly. Dick.
Yeah. So talking about Ezra Miller, do you see that he's taken a plea bargain for all that shit he did last year?
I did not see that.
That was Ezra Miller used this year.
But even if that video, if you could upload it to like the Facebook page, so you could get, because I genuinely want to watch the rest of that video, and like in a decent quality, and then at least if we have things to say, we could leave comments or have notes to bring to next week's episode.
Yeah, totally. That's an amazing idea, and I don't know. I just assume because historically speaking, we're 165 episodes in. Usually, if there's like a technical issue, it's because I'm shit at something. So I apologize for that. I have seen the video. Neil sent it to me last week, earlier in the week, so I have already watched over, and it is brilliant. I was actually really excited to share it. So, yep, I hope. And I've also got, like I say, like I know I use StreamYard. I know you use StreamYard for the Lager Logs, and I've also, as I say, I know the Football Beer and Punk Rock guys use a similar software. So I've already got like Jim messaging me saying like, so I think we'll be able to solve this technical difficulty quite soon. Okay, TV and movies and stuff that we watched there. That was the best thing about Christmas for me, or one of the best things about Christmas for me. I got to spend a lot of time with my family. I spent a lot of time with friends, and I got to watch a shitload of telly.
I also got a shitload of telly. I think we're going to disagree on something, but I've got very good reasons for disagreeing with you.
Okay.
For a TV programme that I massively enjoyed over the Christmas break. But I'll wait until you talk about it and then see if I'm going to disagree with you.
Oh, do you think I'm going to talk about it? Is that what you're...
I think you might do. You talked about your Christmas viewing and stuff like this. And
okay. Well, I'll just talk about it now then.
The
fact that the Detectorists Christmas special was like the best hour and 20 minutes of 2022. It was so good, in my opinion.
It wasn't. It absolutely wasn't. And I'm going to, like, if anybody who hasn't seen it or who watches Detectorists but still hasn't seen it, please thingy off. Do you watch it?
I've never watched it. I've been told twice over Christmas to watch it, but also I need a pee, so I could just jump out.
Yeah. Okay. So anybody that wants to watch the Detectorists Christmas special or is going to binge watch Detectorists, which I recommend you do, and don't want spoilers, jump off now for
mute now because I'm going to explain why it wasn't the best hour and 20 minutes of TV of the year.
Okay, go.
Right, you ready for this?
Yeah.
If you watch it, it had great moments. It had one moment that made me laugh out loud, which the moment in the museum when they looked at each other.
Yeah.
When they realised what had happened. But here's the thing: I love feel good TV, and it's like in a certain mood, that's what I want. And when season 3 ended, the Detectorists, Lance had his girlfriend moving in, and Andy and Bex were moving into their dream cottage.
Yeah,
and they buried the hatchet with the dirt sharks or the antique researchers, whatever they want to call them. They'd become part of the DMDC, and it just had that everything wrapped up, happy ending sort of thing. And then to make this work, they have to create obviously a wee bit of problems to make the special work after 4 years. So Andy and Bex's house had burnt down, and Lance's girlfriend's moving out on him, and the antique researchers screwed them over for the money and things like this. And it's just like I liked how they'd left it. Don't get me wrong, it's good, and a bad episode of the Detectorists, which this wasn't. It was just some problems I had with it. It's still better than 95% of everything else that was on over Christmas. But season 3 ended so well with them finding the gold and making pals with and I loved about those guys as well. The Simon and Garfunkel.
Yeah.
And then when you find out halfway through season 2 or season 3, you actually found out their names were Peters and Lee.
Yeah.
Which I thought was fucking hilarious as well. So.
I think I totally haven't heard your criticism there of that. Actually, you're right. They did undo all the things that made, particularly things like, I don't know, the idea that like the treasure fell out of the tree and you saw how that happened, and just stuff like that. I did find the idea, and the idea that obviously the wee boy had used the cup as the base for his thing, and obviously it had a very similar ending to season 3. Actually, is the idea that like you, and that's one of the things I think Detectorists does very well, where like you didn't see the triumph. The triumph doesn't happen on screen. You get the bit just before the triumph, and I think that's what they're suggesting with this, because there's going to be a bit where Lance, because obviously he anything that's given to him as a present, any bit of art that a kid gives him, he only keeps for 3 weeks.
Yeah, so that's genius. And you just say to the kid, got to keep it for 3 weeks. That's as much as it gets. And the kid's like, fair enough.
But obviously, because that the tremor happened and the crack came, that there's going to be a point where goes clean that away, and he's going to find, and
he's got to find the cup. And I had a nice wee, like, circular, the writing's so good in that show. I had a nice wee, because there was a joke about the Holy Grail in the very first episode.
Yeah.
You know, when they talked about, somebody said about finding the thing, it was like, it's the Holy Grail of thing like that. And then it was like, technically, the Holy Grail would be the Holy Grail, surely. Unless technically, the Holy Grail would be the Ark of the Covenant. There was a Holy Grail joke right at the start. And it's a show which deserves rewatching because there's it's so much depth.
And it's so lovely and it's so easy to watch.
Yeah,
the thing that made that really amazing was if you watched it live, I got rid of my Sky subscription. So I watched it live on BBC Two when it happened. Straight afterwards on BBC Two, Goodfellas came on, which is like one of the best films ever. So I went straight from Detectorist, totally different. So Detectorist, which is a really chilled, quite whimsy, easygoing program, straight into like one of the most intense gangster movies ever made. But it was great, like an amazing evening was had in the Nicholson household.
I love the Detectorist because it's fundamentally just two guys in a field talking crap.
Yeah.
I think it's our generation's Last of the Summer Wine.
Yeah,
it's sort of very easy going,
exactly
just guys sitting in a field having a chat and living a life. And
it's an underrated form of media, and I think alongside Detectorists in that same sort of conversation we talk about quite a lot in the pub is Paul and Bob Go Fishing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's very similar. It's that very similar Paul Whitehouse and Bob Mortimer go fishing. And it is just mindfulness for like old men, isn't it? It's just two old men.
Their Christmas special over Christmas was a highlight when they went to Norway, and it was phenomenal. I think anybody who knows me, who knows what my favourite TV drama programmes are, knows I'm a massive fan of Aaron Sorkin, of dialogue-driven drama. The drama where it's just the talking is what pushes the story along, not explosions or murders and things like this. Dialogue-driven stuff, and that's what the Detectorist is, and that's what Vic and Bob.
Yeah. But there's wee things like that. That tremor happened several times an episode, and they're like, "What is that? Is it fracking? Is it like an earthquake?" And then obviously it was just setting up that last moment, wasn't it? That was the only reason there was tremors in general. It's just good, really good show. That was my highlight. That generally was my highlight of my Christmas viewing. But
you'll think about what I've said now. You'll think about my things now, and you'll realise that I'm right.
Yeah, no, you are. As soon as you said it, I was like, "Yeah, you made a good point." Yeah. I've got other stuff I enjoyed, but I feel like I'm hogging the podcast tonight. So.
I watched. I think we did our favourite movies before in the last episode, and I think I watched a movie after the last episode, which went straight in there. to the top movie of the year, which was Violent Night.
Oh yeah,
so good. Just like everything you want, so good.
Yeah.
It's gonna become. I think did I talk about this in the last one? I can't remember.
I've definitely had this conversation with you. I don't know if I had it in the pub or on the podcast.
It's going to become part of my Christmas watching. Every year from now on, it's there with Scrooged and the Elf and It's a Wonderful Life and White Christmas. Vic Hughes' Big Night Out was phenomenally good back in the sort of late 1980s.
Yeah, it still is. They had a wee resurgence a couple of years ago, and I really enjoyed it. Stu, did you catch any movies or programs over Christmas?
I didn't make it to any programs, but I did watch a couple films that are streaming. I mean, Netflix had The Glass Onion, which was the follow-up to Knives Out.
Yep,
I quite enjoyed that.
Sometimes as well, so did I, yeah.
And Disney Plus put a film on last week, I think, called The Menu, with Ralph Fiennes and Nicholas Hoult, which is actually quite a surprisingly good film as well.
It's like a thriller type thing, isn't it? With murdery, some stabbiness. I described it as Ratatouille meets Charlie and the Chocolate Factory equals Battle Royale. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good description, man. That sounds good. That's definitely. I watched Knives Out over Christmas. That was one of my Christmas viewing.
I enjoyed it. Yeah.
I remember I was laughing at it. I told someone I was watching it with Claire. I told somebody I was watching it, and they messaged back like, "How weird is James Bond's accent?" It's like,
yeah,
totally right. That did put me off a wee bit. I was like, Daniel Craig, what? But actually, the longer the film went on, the more I warmed to it. And I was like, actually, Daniel Craig's brilliant in this.
Yeah, and as Benoit Blanc, they want him to keep on making these movies for years. It was a big push over Christmas and New Year. People come up with ideas of what the next Knives Out movie could be, and there's a big push for there to be a Muppet one. That it would just be amazing if they did, you know, the Muppets with Benoit Blanc and there being a thing.
I've still not seen Glass Onion because but I did watch Knives Out. I think on your recommendation, Andrew, and really enjoyed it.
Yes.
So, I got a Paramount Plus subscription, and just watched fucking shitloads of Star Trek. I watched the whole first season of Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. The prequel series about Captain Pike's original voyage, his 5-year mission before he gave the Enterprise to Kirk. And if I'd seen, like you were kind of saying that about Violet Night, if I'd seen Strange New Worlds last year before we had it probably would have been my 2022 show of the year. It was really enjoyed it. And I'm just about finished season 4 of Star Trek Discovery, which is possibly the best season they've ever done of that particularly quick. That's a good show.
4, I think I've still got 4 to do. It was the most recent one.
So it's quite good because it's all about the for spoilers, so anyone that's seen it. So it's dealing with like the aftermath of the burn and the fact that they can use dilithium again, and folk can warp travel for the first time in over 100 years. So yeah, it's just really good. It's interesting. That's John saying Discovery's pants. I really enjoy Discovery's kind of hit or miss.
John's a Star Wars man. This is the problem here.
John, have you seen Strange New Worlds? I'd like to hear your opinion on that. I think season 4 has been really good.
John's like the character in Fanboys. You know, when they go to Kirk's birthplace, when he goes out. Have you seen Fanboys?
I've not, no.
Not in years.
There's a moment where the guys are they're travelling to see the new Star Wars movie. When what was the first one?
Phantom Menace.
Phantom Menace. Before Phantom Menace came out, and one of them's dying, so they go cross country to break into George Lucas's ranch to watch an early showing of this Phantom Menace before he dies. But they take a detour to Captain Kirk's birthplace just so they can get into a fight with Trekkies. And if John's still watching, John's like, John
saying he's a big Trek fan. Is your note in response to seeing Strange New Worlds, John? I just wanted to see if I don't know anybody else that really watches Star Trek, so I was I really enjoyed it. Discovery season 4 is good. I really recommend it if you've not watched it.
I've liked three seasons of Discovery, John. I must admit, I liked them immensely. It's not the Kelvin universe. It's a different universe. It's a universe. Yeah, I like that a lot. Do you know what I watched the other day, and it was phenomenal. And it's like the best giant monster movie I've ever seen. It's Troll.
Netflix.
Yeah, it's basically like Hong Kong.
King Kong.
King Kong, but set in like Sweden or Denmark or Norway.
Aye.
Yeah, I've heard that. When the
wake up a troll instead of Godzilla or King Kong.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so good.
Mm-hmm. I saw the trailer and I knew it was something that like me and my wife would really enjoy because we watched like the mockumentary for like 10 years ago. What was it? Troll Hunter. And that was like Sweden or Norway or something. And that was brilliant. And it just kind of looked like a follow-on from that, but just as a fictional story and not a mockumentary. So it's on the list.
It will be because they've got a guy who was a troll hunter.
Yeah,
as a character in the movie. It would be marvelous if it was the same guy.
Aye.
From that. John's putting comments up here, but I can't share them because only Jeff can share them. So we have to wait for Jeff to come back so that John can trash Discovery more. We'll get back to that though, John. Once Jeff's back, he's the technical man. Have you seen Troll, John? Yeah, Troll was excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Really liked it. And season 2, just before Christmas, season 2 of Alice in Borderland dropped. which is
Oh,
the
yeah.
best live action anime or manga I've
Yeah.
seen.
Is it Korean or Japanese?
It's Japanese.
Right.
Set in Tokyo.
Right. Okay. I just assumed it's like one of those shows that came out like post Squid Game, but I did see
I think
Netflix sharing a lot of clips.
Yeah, I think season 1 of Alice in Borderland was before Squid Game.
Right. Okay.
It does have superficial similarities in that there's games and you die
Yeah.
if you don't win the games.
And that's it. That could go all the way back to Battle Royale, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. But it was a manga, and live action mangas didn't work like ever. Like I can't think of a single good. You look at Ghost in the Machine and things like this, Death Note and things like this. They just don't work. But Alice in Borderland absolutely works. Alice in Borderland
wasn't Bullet Train based off a manga, or it played like it was.
Possibly, yeah.
I've never looked into it, but I felt like I would not be surprised if it was.
You were saying about Battle Royale being a manga. I read the novel. I don't know if the novel came before the manga or the manga came before the novel, but there is a novel called Battle Royale, and but it's really oddly written. Like obviously, it's a translation of a Japanese book, so it was obviously originally published in Japan. So, and I don't know if it's just a translation thing, but I just found it very kind of is that the right word? It was just a very kind of. It wasn't very. It was. I don't know. Almost read like the commentary of a movie rather than like. Rather than going into like characters' emotions and like when you normally read a novel, you get like an internalized view of what's going on and stuff like that. It's very not like that. Just like
reading the transcript of the events,
and then John did that, and then this happened, and then John got angry and did that. It's kind of reads a wee bit like that rather than being like John got really upset. He couldn't read. You know what I mean? It's just very much like a commentary of events rather than an actual.
I think I'm not. I know. I thought it was a novel first, but like you say, it would have been a novel in Japan.
I always just assume that everything's manga over there.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's manga, but it might have been massively influenced.
No, it definitely was a manga, but I just don't know if the manga came before the novel.
Aye.
So without Battle Royale, you probably wouldn't have had Hunger Games. Probably wouldn't have had Squid Games, and Alice in Borderland might be. It stands on its own. It's slightly different because there's a wee bit of supernatural element to it.
Yeah.
But it's
just any of that. Like even just Fortnite probably also had to Battle Royale as like a. Well, it does because there's a game. They use the term to describe folk getting dropped on an island until there's one guy left. It's just
But what the Battle Royale twist that I absolutely loved and what made it, if everyone had gone in there like the Hunger Games with knives and bows and arrows and things like this, what made Battle Royale amazing for me was the randomness of their assigned weapon. Like some of them were given knives, some of them were given guns, but one guy was given a frying pan and
binoculars. One guy got binoculars.
Binoculars, things like this. The randomness of that was absolutely what that made.
I love them. Did you ever see Battle Royale 2? The second movie?
I think I've seen it once. Yeah, but
I quite enjoyed it. I went to the cinema to see it, thinking I was at uni and Stirling University showed it when I was there, and I thought it was being really cool because I was like, oh, like the arty student and stuff like that. I went along to that, and I really enjoyed it. But the idea is that they recruit the kids in the same way that they did in the first movie. They recruit the kids again, but then they send them to an island where there's it's basically just the survivors of previous battle royals have set up like a base to attack Tokyo, and so instead of sending an actual armed force in, they send that year's battle royal participants. It's like
that's it. It's when it gets like the 5th year of Celebrity Big Brother, they have to spice it up some way.
And then we now have returning contestants.
Exactly.
That was good. So yeah, I heard. Well, I was at the loo. I heard you talking about John's comments. So John was saying that about Star Trek Discovery isn't great, but he liked season 2. I like season 3 and 4 because obviously they follow on from season 2, but the cliffhanger at the end of season 2 is particularly strong in my opinion. and it gets dealt with really
season
quick.
2, where she goes back in at the end of it. She goes. They go forward in time to save, take the Borg away or whatever like that, and then
it goes from like a prequel series to like the ultimate sequel series. Yeah. And then John also said that there was way too much crying in Discovery. That's maybe there's a lot of stopping and talking in Discovery. I know that's always been a feature of Star Trek, but
so what makes it best? There's an emotion to Discovery, I think.
And they were saying, "Don't get me started on Picard." I quite enjoyed Picard, but I know it's not perfect. I think
Picard season 1 I thought was pretty decent. Picard season 2 not so much.
Yeah.
And season 3 I think is going to be the final one.
Yeah, it's going to be end, isn't it?
Do you know what I'm furious about? Because it's like the first week in January now, and we've gotten used to the first week in January them stealth dropping a new season of Cobra Kai.
There isn't one.
And there isn't one. So far, I hope one's coming. But
my understanding was it was coming. My understanding is that the last season was filmed. And you know how they dropped it? They dropped it in Christmas last year, then gave us a summer season.
Mm-hmm.
My understanding was that we were going to be getting in our Christmas season just to finish it off, but obviously they haven't done that. So.
Yeah, because they're going to have to go to Japan or China or whatever.
Well, yeah, they've got to. I think the last. It's that big.
Yeah. With Jaden and Jackie Chan.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Tilda Swinton. Hilary Swank, hopefully, as well.
Mm-hmm. And Hilary Swank, hopefully.
Yeah.
So I expected that, so that's been a big disappointment. New season of Vikings, though, is I think dropped today. Vikings Valhalla. Story of Leif Erikson, an actual historical character. All the Vikings were actual historical characters in the first show as well, though. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
I'm trying to think what else caught my eye or things that I've got lined up. I started Tulsa King yesterday.
Oh, I want to start that.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm 2 episodes in. I finished episode 2 last night. I'm going to watch episode 3. I think after we come off air. It's Sylvester Stallone playing a gangster who's just come out of 25 years in prison because he took the rap for his boss. He's come back out. Obviously, they've got the new crew in, and he has been sent to Tulsa. He claims it's exile. His boss is like, no, it's not exile. We're giving you a new city that doesn't have a mob foothold yet. We want you to be the guy that starts this. You know, you can own the city basically. And he's got there, and it's got the boy from anyone that watched one of the main characters. Anyone that watched Silicon Valley.
Martin Starr.
Yeah, I can't remember the actor's names. What's his name? Sorry, did you say?
Martin Starr. He was also like the high school teacher in the Spider-Man movies.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So he's the best character in Silicon Valley.
He was one of the best characters as well. Mm-hmm. So he plays. It's for the thing. So Sylvester Stallone walks into. He owns like a weed dispensary in Tulsa.
Okay.
And Sylvester Stallone walks in and is like trying to be like a mob enforcer, and is like, right, 20. You give me 20% of all your 20% of your income, and I'll keep the heat off you. And he's like, weeds, and he's like, weed's legal here. Like, there is no heat. Actually, I've had no bother in my business at all until you arrived. And he's like, no. If you don't give me 20%, bad things will happen. And it's just really, it's like just basically bullying this business out of like a fifth of their profits. John saying ripped off for lots of different things. There's an element of that program with is it Lilyhammer?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Can I just, about what John said, would ask John to clarify, because he said he watched The Rig on Amazon and then said ripped off from lots of different things. So I'm not sure if he's talking about The Rig having ripped off lots of different things or Tulsa Kings.
Well, Tulsa King does rip off loads of things. Tulsa King's, it's fish out of water.
Tulsa King struck me as Lilyhammer with Sylvester Stallone.
It's good. I'm enjoying it more. I really like the first season of Lilyhammer. I think there's I don't know. There's a wee bit more believability to Tulsa King. Almost, I buy Sylvester Stallone as his character a wee bit more than I bought Steve Van Zandt, and that's quite hard for me to say because I love Steve Van Zandt. So, but John saying he was referring to The Rig, which is I don't know. Is it
from lots of different things? It did. I've only seen trailers, but to me it looked a wee bit, a wee bit Alien, a wee bit The Thing. I've only seen the trailer so far, so you can tell me if I'm completely off here. But yeah.
I quite fancy it though. It's Amazon Prime it's on, isn't it? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Did you play any games? Or
Yes,
Christmas
but
periods?
not yeah. I'll let you start first. What did you play?
I've been playing a lot of Inscription, which is, I think, a game from 2 years ago, but it's only been put on the PlayStation in the last year. And it's sort of like, it starts off as like some sort of survival horror card game where you're trapped in a cabin playing cards against a man who you can't see. You can only see his eyes, and he's in the dark corner of the room. And it's almost this game where it's like animals. So you would sacrifice squirrels for stouts, and it's all first person. So you could step away from the table and look around the cabin and get clues. And it's like an escape room. There's a picture on the wall, and there'll be a reason behind that picture. And then there's a cabinet, and you do all these puzzles. But I've been playing it just almost religiously for like the last week, and it's just evolving in directions I did not expect at all. I thought I was playing one game, and it's just changed completely.
Another one.
Yes, and it's just done in a way that's so clever. And other than that, I've been playing Vampire Survivors, which I know it was a popular PC game, but it was on Xbox as well. And it's just a very simple game of just avoid being hit. And cut to you're playing it for 20 minutes, you're level 106, and the whole screen's on fire, and you've just got this adrenaline rush.
Yeah, Vampire Survivors was sort of the biggest game, the biggest indie game of the year last year, and it spawned so many. Like it was the Flappy Bird of last year. There's just like 50 games now which are exactly the same.
Nah. So me and my wife have been spending a lot of time playing that and trying to outdo each other's like levels and scores. It's very satisfying to play.
Yeah. Assassin's Creed Origins is a good game, Jim. I would if I was you, I would get it finished and get on to Odyssey, because Odyssey's better.
And it's the original Dungeon Keeper for the millionth time as well.
Yes, classic.
I've got an emulator laptop, and I've been spending, so like obviously, there's question marks over legality and stuff, so don't buy emulators. But I got an emulator laptop from a shop a couple of years ago, and have been playing Spyro the Dragon from the very beginning, and with the explicit aim of getting 100% on every level as we go. So like all the jewels, chasing the wee bastard that goes nah, and then runs away. As Jim said, it wasn't for him. He got it and didn't like it. But that's
I think I said the same about Origins. Origins was all right, but it wasn't for me. And neither was Valhalla. Assassin's Creed Valhalla. It just wasn't good. But Odyssey, I absolutely loved. But I did classical studies at school, and I read the Iliad and the Odyssey and things like this. So ancient Greece was the perfect sort of area for me to be running about.
Was it Assassin's Creed recently? Again, this is I'm not a gamer. Like I say, Spyro the Dragon, like 25-year-old gamer or whatever. And I'm not a gamer, but my oldest son is, and was an Assassin's Creed recently where you could play in Scarborough, because I remember my son Sean thought this was like the best thing ever. I remember him coming through and being like, Scarborough's a playable space.
Probably in Syndicate. Syndicate was set in London.
Yeah.
So that might have a DLC that you can play in Scarborough. Oh, okay, well, it might be Valhalla.
Yeah, so Jim just said Valhalla. I remember holidayed quite a lot in Scarborough. So I remember when Sean was playing Valhalla, he ran through and he was like, "Oh my god, Scarborough's a playable location in this game I'm playing."
Scarborough.
It's not the same Scarborough. There's not like a big wheel and like a rock shop and a really broad sea life centre.
I can't remember Valhalla fundamentally set mostly in southern England.
Yeah.
So.
That's funny.
No, the game I've played most during Christmas is a game called City Skylines, which is like SimCity.
Right.
and it's phenomenal, and it's a game.
I love a game like that. I love SimCity.
I
And
love those sort of things as well, like shapes and that sort of thing. Building games. I love games where you get things and build things and do those things to build more things. City Skylines.
I love a wee computer game feature. Let's keep that in. I love to see game chat. I game enough that I can be like, oh, I played fucking Rayman this week, or
listen, if you've got a computer as well, there's a game called Shapez, SHAPEZ.io, and you can play it in your browser. Just search for it on Google and you'll find it in your browser. And it's a marvelous game if you want to lose 20 or 30 hours just on making shapes. You've got to like take shapes, and then sometimes you've got to cut the shapes and rotate them and colour them and put them back together and things like this. It's like a very simple version of Factorio or something like that. I wouldn't say like I'm an old school gamer, but I genuinely like. I don't have a PS5. I don't have a PS4. I managed on Facebook Marketplace on Monday to get a really good deal on an Xbox 360. So I bought that so that because we've got COVID in the house, so I got that so that Claire could play. She used to. I obviously spent £400 on my Xbox 360 10 years ago, and then lost it to Claire when she discovered that Viva Pinata was a thing.
Oh yeah.
So that's what's been going on in our house this week is Viva Pinata.
Okay.
It's basically a game where you create a garden and you water the plants and then invite small creatures to fucking breed.
I know you're right when you said fucking.
It's like Stardew Valley. I think I've got Stardew Valley on the.
I played a lot of that too.
Xbox. I'm going to have to buy an Xbox this year. I'm a PlayStation man as well because I think the PlayStation, what do you call them? Unique ones. The PlayStation.
What, like exclusive titles?
Exclusives, yeah, are better than Xbox exclusives.
You got Spider-Man,
and things like this. But I really, really want to play Starfield, which is the new game for Bethesda coming out this year, and it's only coming out on Xbox. I've got a gaming PC, so I could play it on that. But
did they ever bring out a new Fable for Xbox? I really like the Fable game.
It's in production. Like a few years ago, they put up like a title screen just to kind of announce that it's being made, but. That's been it.
I really like the Fable games. Like,
yeah,
PlayStation is for big boys, Xbox is for Jeffries.
Well, you're a Jeffrey. So.
I am a Jeffrey, so it's fine. Which is why I've had every iteration of the Xbox.
I've only had one Xbox, and it was like, and it was the one I moved away from PlayStation for one, which was the Xbox 360, and I got that over the PlayStation 3.
Yeah,
but
I had PlayStation 1, 2, 4, and now 5.
I have, so obviously a massive wrestling fan. I kind of regret the fact that I, for various reasons, wasn't able to continue doing a wrestling podcast with Stu, but maybe 2023 is a new year because wrestling's gone fucking crazy in the last 2 weeks.
I think it's sold to Saudi Arabia. They're all going to.
That's what I'm saying. It was the first time in my. And I know Jim and Stu are big wrestling fans, right? I'm going somewhere with this. I'm going to bring it back to computer games in about 30 seconds, right? But for the first time, unless you guys can correct me with a different, maybe since Chris Benoit, maybe 2008, 2007, 2008, it's the first time I remember BBC News reporting on the WWE, and it was to do with the fact that WWE is potentially being sold to Saudi Arabia, and that was why Stephanie McMahon, who was like in charge, her dad Vince McMahon has stepped back in, so he's now executive chairman again. She stepped out, and one of the rumors I heard was the reason she stepped back is because Saudi Arabia don't want women in charge. So they weren't going to let the deal go through unless she took a step back. Anyway, a channel I get all my wrestling news from is called Cultaholic, a group of guys in Newcastle, amazing channel. But their sister channel is called Triple Jump, which is like their video game arm. And like we were talking earlier about Jim doing these lists programs. Last Friday, I watched for a full hour and 50 minutes. I watched them rank every console that was ever released from 92. So obviously they created a criteria so that they weren't just reporting on random shit, but they got 92 consoles and ranked them from like worst to best, and then went through them in an hour and 47 minutes.
Well, I can see Jim's given us a list of all his things here, so I've got some. I have questions, Jim, because I'm the same, but I don't know which machines you're talking about here. Is it the Commodore 64, which I've got one of those just over here?
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's so beautiful, man.
So I had the Commodore 64. I'm assuming that was Commodore 64, but you're young looking, so you could be talking about the Commodore Amiga. From there, it's the 64. He's confirmed.
The 64 was my first computer.
I've never had an Atari, and yeah, it was a Nintendo Entertainment System was my first. You went for the Atari ST over the Commodore Amiga.
I remember for a wee while. So obviously, me and Jamie's probably my oldest pal, right? And I do remember for a wee while deliberately buying consoles that he didn't have because it meant that we could kind of play them both. Yeah. So I remember when he had the PS1, I had the PS1, but then when he bought the PS2, I bought an N64, and then the Xbox. Yeah. But my whole point there was like, so 92 consoles from 92 to 1. What do you think was the number one console
of all time?
Of all time.
I think I've seen things like this, but I think the console which broke all the other consoles was the PlayStation 1.
So so it was cool. Like if you watch it, like the way they ranked it was like they included like just pure like enjoyability, yeah. Mm-hmm. Then they added things like how many units it sold, how many games were made for it, and like the quality of the games. And I think they even went on like Metacritic and ranked like how many games from that specific console have higher than 9.0 on Metacritic compared to other consoles. It was the PS2 was what they reckoned. I had
the PS2, and I think because the PS2 was so much better. Like at the time, it was the Xbox, and the Xbox wasn't very good. You know, the PS2 was the same time as the Xbox. No, the Xbox One, just the original Xbox. The PS2 was better.
The Xbox
it had a built-in DVD player. That was amazing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The PlayStation 2 had a built-in DVD player. That was brilliant.
Yeah, it was great. I would have said the PlayStation, but I'm not surprised by the PlayStation 2.
I think PlayStation 1 was in the top 10. I'm trying to think what the other ones were. Jim saying about the Mega Drive CD, that was really low. It wasn't like 92, like you're talking. Like the 92 was just basically all Generation 1 consoles. So because they were all just basically was what they were saying.
I had the Mega Drive, but it was the cartridge Mega Drive.
Yeah.
Went for the Sega Master System to the Sega Mega Drive.
Yeah, I had the Mega Drive. Yeah. I remember I lived in a really rundown area of Inverkeithing when the Mega Drive came out. I was only about 4 or 5, and I remember some guy that my dad knew brought the Mega Drive over, and then we had a Mega Drive. But this guy was, but I don't know. Now that I think about it, like now I'm like that Mega Drive probably was stolen from somewhere. We couldn't afford a Mega Drive at the time, so fuck knows where that came from. The PS2, Jim said about the Wii. The Wii was really high. I think Wii was like 3 or 4.
My favourite console personally, like no computers like the Amiga and the Commodore Amiga and the Commodore 64 were computers, and I've got a PC obviously. My favourite was the PS4. I think the games, when the next generation games came out, you know, it was the difference between that jump from Elder Scrolls 3 Oblivion to Elder Scrolls, you know, to Skyrim. And Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas and the jump to the PS4. I think you could get Skyrim on PS3, but the PS4 was just better. And the PS5 is better, but it's no. And I love it, and I love the gameplay, and I love the hard drive and stuff like this. But it's a big, ugly fucking thing.
I can't remember. Was it the PS3 ranked quite highly because is it the PS3 that's backwards compatible?
Yes.
The
first version of it was.
That was like its main, like, because I had an Xbox 360 and it wasn't backwards compatible, and then the PS3 came out, and it was, and you were like, "Oh, that's better." Like, the fact that you don't have to buy, the fact that you can keep your own, you don't have to have two consoles to have all your games is a big feature. Like,
I've got this. I've got all my many PS4 games, and I can play them on my PS5. And it's quicker, because because I've got solid state drives for it. An internal solid state drive, and I put an extra solid state drive into it. It's lightning fast for loading screens and things like this, and very silent. But it's not the form's not as nice. The PS4 was smaller, and
that's weird things. Like, I don't know if that's something that you guys thought about as you get older. Like, is how it fits into your unit. Is that
when you realise you're an adult?
Also, dark TV and dark, a dark DVD player, and dark wood unit, and this big fuck off white. I know you can get covers for.
You buy wraps, can't you?
I might get a bespoke cover for it, so that thing is in better.
I'm not sure if they'll do like a slim version of the 5, because I haven't got one yet. I do want one, but I would like one that fits underneath my TV.
There's a slim one, but it doesn't have a DVD player in it. And all my PS4 games, as you can see, I don't think you can see them. All my PS4 games, I'm not a big fan of buying them online. I like physical copies so that I can.
Yeah.
I didn't actually notice your PS4 games until just as you said that. I did notice your. Obviously, you've got Dig there. Also, your torrent
Pile of Shame.
The 10 best games ever made for PS4. Dun, dun, dun.
Speaking of lists,
there's Valhalla. Yeah, there you go, Jim.
Bum, bum, bum.
See, Jeff, this is what you wanted.
Watch Dogs. All the Assassin's Creeds. I've got basically every Assassin's Creed game.
We should totally do that. I'll speak to Jim. We should definitely do lists. Lists are a cool thing. Like, there isn't anyone doing decent comic lists or.
I am up for lists and physical props. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'll do a list. I'll do a list of the greatest PS4 games.
If we all did one a month, we could do one a week.
We could have one every week. Yeah.
And then it's someone's turn to come up with. It's interesting
because they take like an ages because there's lots of editing, isn't there? That's the only thing I think about.
Can I edit them in like bullseye style? In 10.
I'll send you. I don't know. We'll work out a format, and then because we'll just stick to that. But yeah, I did notice next to your PS4s, you've got your Torun Grombeck Thors there as well.
I have. I've got some Torun Grombeck Thor there. Some Robot Apocalypse that I'm starting to give you back so you can use it.
Oh yeah.
Some Transformers, some old school Transformers. John was talking about that earlier on. Some old school Transformers books.
Oh yeah.
Dig. Some Stray Dogs. My Liverpool Football Club scarf.
Oh yeah.
Greatest scene in the world.
I know them very well. They aren't really at the moment. That's Jim saying that he. So Jim, as I said, Jim does the soundboards for the football, beer and punk rock podcast, and that's what he uses as his soundboard. Is in one. I might steal that off of Jim.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
What are we? So next week we should have. Hopefully, I like to announce guests, but sometimes we've lost Stu, or Stu's frozen. Hope he's okay. He's not just holding that pose. He's away. We should hopefully next week have Tony Foster, who is a really big deal in Scottish comics, but I think because he's not a comic writer or an artist, folk are maybe not aware of his influence. But so for those that don't know, Tony's the editor of the comic scene, comic review magazine. So anyone that's checked these things out, he's also you can buy them in. They have you can buy them back through subscription services or online, but you can also get them through W. Smith. So but Tony's got big plans for 2023. I think it's Comic Scene that did their work with the 77, who had the 77. You were able to get the 77 in W. Smith in like November, December last year. So I think that was through work with Comic Scene. So Tony's a bit of a big deal. He's going to come talk to us about what Comic Scene's doing this year, but also he's got a couple of events planned this year, which sound really, really super duper exciting, particularly if you're a comic fan.
Is he going to come down and go, I don't know if you know this, but I'm kind of a big deal?
He's not, because I've spoken to Tony a few times, and he's quite modest. So he's a dude, which I think. Also, he was very heavily involved in the Kirk Newton comic that Colin was involved in last year.
Colin was involved in, yeah.
Yeah. So
cool.
he's just a friend. He's just a really good friend of comics, actually. Like and he's an advocate for comics. He's done bits and pieces for me in the past where he's written reviews of my stuff or like shared it. Obviously, the reach of comic scene is much greater than anything I could hope to achieve with Spirit of Enkir. That so that was always very well appreciated. So yeah, Tony's going to come on and talk to us about his event in Livingston, which is why I'm kind of being a bit cagey on details because I want him to give us some exclusives. So he'll join us next week. Obviously, we'll chat beer, we'll chat comics, we'll chat TV and movies like we have been doing, and maybe computer games because that was quite fun.
We'll do some lists.
Yeah, do some lists. If you want to get involved in the podcast, obviously later tonight or tomorrow morning, I'll put up Neil's video. Thank you, Neil, for sending that in. I'll use that as the basis of a roundtable discussion that we have next week as well. So good. We still have Krana. I thought we were going to have Krana tonight, so I had like a whole list of jokes.
Hopefully he will be back shortly and soon. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure of my availability next week. It is my birthday next Thursday. Yeah, that's fair. So I think there may be food and cake somewhere on the thing. But if I'm home early enough, I'll jump on.
Yeah, that'll be good fun. I don't know, it was your birthday next week. A couple of pints of me on Sunday then. If you fancy coming and getting pish with us, just message. We'll let you know where we are.
Message if you know us, if you know either of us, message us. We generally meet at least every other Sunday.
Yeah, it's quite regular.
In Dunfermline usually, although we are obviously hoping to stretch that a wee bit further afield.
Yeah, we want to venture a wee bit further east so that Stu can join us. So
and west so that Krana can join us as well.
So we'll work that out.
I think we should have a weekend or something like that in Glasgow.
I'm currently squirreling emails away to try and make that happen. So stay tuned. Right, guys, thank you very much again. Have a lovely evening.
Thanks for everyone that joined us. Jeremy, you've been an absolute star. Hopefully you're going to be a long-time fan of the show and you can keep us going. And John, as always, thanks for the comments.
And Galileo is not from Grantham.